And we're going to get started. And I would like to say to everybody, good evening, everyone, and thank you for Zooning in to share our annual Kwanzaa program, Unity in the Community, a Kwanzaa celebration. Unity is the centerpiece for this event, and it will be our focus throughout 2022, because where there is unity, there's power. Due to COVID and the new normal, candle lighting and food will not be included tonight, as you all know already. But hopefully in 2022 and in the future, we'll be able to bring those pieces back in place. Annually, the branch endeavors to share with the community programs and other information based on our game changers. And they are such things as education, criminal justice, youth development, civic engagement, healthcare, and more. In terms of healthcare, we are currently running a PSA, NAACP COVID No More, featuring familiar faces and familiar places. It is designed to encourage vaccine compliance. However, tonight, the focus will be on education. So at this time, I'm pleased to introduce to some and present to others our moderator for the evening, Dr. Jimmy L. Williams. Dr. Williams is the first vice president of the branch and a retired manager and scientist from Corning Incorporated, Corning, New York. Dr. Williams, this is your time.
Thank you, Georgia. Good evening. Happy Kwanzaa. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Well, I hope all of you are enjoying the holidays. I'm Dr. Jimmy L. Williams, as Georgia said, your host for this evening. This is our second Zoom Kwanzaa celebration. But this is my first celebration of Kwanzaa here in Corning, because my family and I, we normally travel during the holiday, but COVID kept us in town. What we're going to be saying is the purpose tonight is unity in the community, a Kwanzaa celebration. This has been a busy year, lots of things happening. The Elmira Corning branch is active in getting out the message about COVID, the vaccine, and its safety and precautions that one can take. The branch sponsored a panel of doctors to discuss and answer questions that people have about COVID, its effects, the vaccine, and any other concerns that they may have had. The branch also sponsored a vaccine site at Friendship Baptist Church, where people can come in and actually get get vaccinated. And Georgia mentioned that we are sponsoring running PSA public service announcements about getting the message out about getting vaccinated for COVID. So we're active there. And this month earlier, beginning of December, we co-sponsored a march with Dr. Stephen Coleman. And the title theme was Unity in the Community. As Georgia said, you're going to be hearing more about that in 2022 as we go forward with programs. So unity in the community, tonight, we're still using that as part of our theme, unity in the community, a Kwanzaa celebration. Kwanzaa is a Swahili word meaning first, and signifies the first fruits of the harvest. Dr. Elmira Corning created Kwanzaa in 1966 during the aftermath of the Watts riot. He was very active political figure, activist, I would say, in the mid-1960s and early 1970s. Dr. Corning said that his goal was to give Blacks an alternative to the existing holiday of Christmas and give Blacks an opportunity to celebrate themselves and their history. December 26th through January 1st is marked for Kwanzaa celebration. There are 7 principles of Kwanzaa: unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Families celebrating Kwanzaa decorate their houses with objects of art, colorful African cloths such as kente, and place fresh fruit that represent African idealism. It is customary to include children in Kwanzaa ceremonies and for them to give respect and gratitude to our ancestors. Libations are shared, generally with a common chalice, and it's passed around to all celebrants. So we'll get right into the program with invocation by Reverend Holly Strickland, the NAACP Religious Affairs Chair, pastor of Webb Mills United Methodist Church in Pine City. And she will be followed by a welcome by Ms. Jaden Brown, a seventh grader at Corning Painted Post Middle School. Reverend Strickland.
Thank you. As we gather this evening, let us invoke the Holy Spirit. Will you pray with me? Glorious Creator of all, we gather here this night to honor those who have come before us and those who are still here. Young and old, rich and poor, saints and sinners, believers and non-believers. And we invoke the power of the Holy Spirit to be in this space as we celebrate the following 7 principles. Let them be pleasing in your sight. Umoja, Kujiko Gula, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Kuumba, Imani. Open our eyes to see the importance of these principles that are inclusive, not exclusive, honoring and not hurting, loving and not lacking. Open our ears to hear these principles and to place them upon our hearts. And open our hands. Help us to use them to spread good deeds and good news that everyone is worthy of love and respect. Kwanzaa is a time of learning, honoring family and friends, and celebration. So this evening, let us begin our celebration. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jaden Brown. On behalf of the Elmira Corning branch of the NAACP, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to this year's Kwanzaa celebration, highlighting unity in the community. We recognize that this is a busy time of the year, and we are really excited to have you join this event. We will be celebrating and educating on the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Open your hearts and your minds and enjoy. Once again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Okay, now we'll get to the heart of our program. We have a distinguished panel that's going to discuss the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and each will have about 5 minutes. And if you are interested in joining in with discussion with the panelists, feel free to do that after their presentation, after each presentation. The first principle is Umoja, and I will be the centerpiece for discussing Umoja. The second principle is Kuji Chagulia, self-determination. Third principle is Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Fourth principle, Ujama, cooperative economics by Mr. Dwayne Johnson. I may back up. I didn't name the people that were actually going to represent the principal. Kuji Chagulia is Mr. Jarvis Marlowe McCowan, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Education Coordinator, Corning Incorporated Office of Racial Equality and Social Unity, Elmira City School District, Elmira, New York. Quite a mouthful. Ujima, Collective Work and Responsibility, Ms. Astra Titus, Chair of the NAACP Criminal Justice, Founder and Principal, Collective Evolution Consulting, Hector, New York. The fourth principle, Ujama, Cooperative Economics, Mr. Dwayne Johnson, NAACP Treasurer, Elmira Corning Branch. The fifth principle is NIA, Purpose, Ms. Olivia Christian, Youth Chair, School Services Educator, Corning Museum of Glass. Kuumba, creativity, be done by Mrs. Michelle Boris, NAACP Executive Committee Member. And the last principle, Imani, faith, Mrs. Susan Ellison, also an NAACP Executive Committee Member. So I will begin with Umoja. I'll talk a little bit about the first principle. Umoja is the first principle of Kwanzaa. It means unity. And December 26th is set aside. During Kwanzaa, participants greet one another with Habari Gani, which is Swahili for how are you? How's the news with you? The response is Umoja, Habari Gani. Umoja stresses the importance of togetherness for the family and the community, which is reflected in the African proverb, I am because we are. Those powerful words inspire us every day. We believe that everyone in our community is responsible for one another, and that by working together, we will achieve great things. The candlelight for Umoja represents a symbol of unity. This is the black candle and the Kinara. All of us, and it represents all of us taking responsibilities for our families and neighbors. How can we show unity? Sometimes it's marching arm in arm and fighting for social and economic justice. Sometimes unity is a helping hand to someone in need. It doesn't have to be formal or expensive or time consuming. It can even be an acknowledgement or an encouraging word or a like on social media. This year has shown us the importance of unity in so many ways. There have been countless examples, big and small, of folks showing up to support each other and stand together, stand side by side through all the craziness that we've endured. We are experiencing a worldwide pandemic where millions have died. Black Lives Matter movement and the killing of young African Americans with a justice system that has not been fair in punishment of those responsible. The long lines at the food banks for those in need, the LGBTQ and women's movements for equal rights, the passing of Bishop Tutu, who was a voice in South Africa in the freeing of Nelson Mandela. So the Elmira Corning branch going forward will focus on unity in the community in all of its upcoming events. Realize that COVID, gun violence, drugs, hunger, housing, criminal justice are still alive and well in our communities. No one can solve these problems alone. It is working with our neighbors that we can overcome some of these obstacles. Umoja. So now we'll hear from Mr. Jarvis Marlowe McCowan.
Thanks, everyone. Again, my name is Jarvis Marlowe McCowan. Pleasure to be with you all. I have the great task and privilege to share a little bit about the second principle of Kwanzaa, and it is pronounced Kuji Chagulia, which means self-determination. And an overarching quote or philosophical statement for self-determination is to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. And as Kwanzaa is a celebration of family, community, and culture, and self-determination is a right and responsibility to exist as a people and make our own unique contribution to the forward flow of all of human history. And the founder of Kwanzaa states that self-determination is both a commitment and practice of defining, defending, and developing ourselves instead of allowing other people or encouraging others to do it for us. When I think about self-determination, I'm led to thinking about Afrocentricity and the cultural image and human interest of African peoples. And the word Afrocentricity often raises many different and conflicting thoughts and feelings among people. However, we must believe that and be reminded that Afrocentricity does not seek to deny or deform others' history and humanity. Rather, it affirms, rescues, and reconstructs its own for us as African people in moving forward and defining ourselves for who we are. And self-determination is the quest to answer the question, who am I? From the perspective of our own beautiful culture and our own beautiful history. And when I continue thinking about self-determination, I'm led to thinking about Pan-Africanist Black nationalist leader Marcus Garvey when he stated, "Let us with one determination create in our minds today the conditions for the next 50 years." And I'll repeat that quote, "Let us with one determination create in our minds today the conditions of the next 50 years." So as we pause and think about the next 50 years, it starts with us today and being sure that we align ourselves and mind, body, and spirit with the principles of Kwanzaa and, in my context, self-determination, that the actions that I do, the things that I do, has a ripple effect on everyone. So in the spirit of unity and the spirit of community, my actions impact other folks. And when I continue to think about self-determination, as we make plans for the new year, let us remember that our actions today will determine the conditions for future generations. In working to build and sustain institutions and communities that are healthy, safe, and prosperous in today's world will certainly take determination and sacrifice, all that we have seen within our past couple of years as we continue to live with COVID. But given all of this, let us still be encouraged and remember the quote and the words of Marcus Garvey and the many ancestors who, under even worse circumstances, had the discipline to continue building for our future. Our future deserves this, and our future relies on us. And as I close, I'm led to thinking about self-determination and what it means to me. And it reminds me to be proud of the things I've accomplished in my life. And I think too often we are too hard on ourselves because society says we have to compare ourselves to other people. But I and you should be proud of what we have accomplished, and we should be determined to only keep on going and pressing forward. And at the same time, I value and we must value and celebrate all the accomplishments that we as an African community and our allies continue to make and actively contribute to a beautiful and beloved community that we all have a responsibility and a self-determination to create for the longevity of our world. Thank you all.
Thank you. We'll next hear from Mrs. Ostra Titus on the third principle.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am going to be talking about Ujima, the collective work and responsibility principle. So the principle states that to build and maintain our community together and make our community's problems our problems and to solve them together. In thinking about this evening and what kind of Kwanzaa means, particularly when we are talking about unity in the community, that is basically our collective work and responsibility. In order to build and maintain our community, we have to have unity within our community. And so, you know, I in that thought, it all of a sudden just struck me that Kwanzaa is just this beautiful, beautiful space for us to come together and to feel the unity and to kind of feel the joy that unity brings us and the commitment that that we have to each other and that we kind of revel in, at least I do, and having us as a community, and by us I'm talking about brown and Black people who are interested in Kwanzaa, or anyone who's interested in Kwanzaa, but that this is a safe space for us to gather to figure out how we will do our collective work and responsibility. This is a space to remind us that we can build and maintain our community together, and that this is a space to remind us that because we are all in this in unity, that our community's problems are our problems, and we are to solve them together. In this day of divide across every single line one can imagine, I think it's hard to find unity, and it's hard to feel unity, and in that you lose that sense of collective responsibility. If we identify that we can, as Jimmy said, we have the power together and we can move forward together, then we really can own our community's problems, and we really can work to solve them together. And so I just am grateful that we have this opportunity to reflect on who we are, how we are together, and how we move forward together in our collective work and in our collective responsibility. The other thing that came to me is that part of this collective work and responsibility in building and maintaining our community is investing in our community. And I'm honored to be working for Alternatives, which is a credit union that actually does that, invests in underserved communities, invests in minority-owned business. And I just think that it's collectively, we need to be searching for solutions like that to collectively build our community. So I think, on that, I will say that I'm grateful for the sense of belonging that our community provides to me. And because of that, I certainly feel that I own, that I am in it. I'm committed to to growing and to expanding our community, and to work on figuring out the solutions to our community problems. Thanks.
Astra, you said something about how do we define unity from all the chaos that's going on today? You have any more thoughts around that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're not asking me, you're asking probably the rest of everyone else, but I'll just say that, I do a lot of, some whatever, racial equity work. And, even in looking at anti-racism, there is division in how anti-racism should be experienced or shown, or and so I think that it's really hard in that to gather, to enlarge our community to people that are interested in racial equity. And so again, I just think that we take every opportunity we can to kind of center ourselves, ground ourselves, and say, we as a people are speaking in one voice, that this is what racial equity is.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Dwayne Johnson on the fourth principle.
Good evening. As you said, I'm Dwayne Johnson. I'm a retired scientist and manager from Corning Incorporated. Ujamaa is cooperative economics, or supporting each other economically. Ujamaa is the fourth Kwanzaa principle and is celebrated on December 29th. And if you research this, you'll see that Ujamaa is to build, the principle is to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. But Dr. Karinga, who created Kwanzaa, actually says that this Ujamaa is a sum of three main concepts: shared wealth and work, economic self-reliance, and obligation of generosity. Now, shared wealth and work is a commitment to the practice of shared wealth and the work necessary to achieve it. And that's based on the assumption that the well-being of a population, a culture, or a community is through shared wealth. And the second concept, economic self-reliance, is building, strengthening, and controlling the economics of our own community. And we do this by being responsible for creating, retaining ownership, and managing the resources that our community needs to grow and thrive. And Dr. Karinga makes a point that the developing and maintaining our cultural self-reliance does not mean that we must refuse and exclude assistance from other people or not work with other cultures. And the third concept is the obligation of generosity. And this means that we have a responsibility to share with the poor and vulnerable. And this obligation and commitment is much more than just the act of being kind to others. The ultimate purpose and goal is to end their poverty and vulnerability so that they too can live a decent and meaningful life without being deprived of the wealth of the community. And finally, Dr. Karinga states in this that to share the wealth and work is to share the concern, care, and responsibility of a new, more human and fulfilling future. And I have to say that when I first looked at this, especially the part about building and maintaining your own stores and shops, being from an urban area, born in Chicago, my thoughts were that you spend your money at Black businesses, you go to their shops and this, and I did not really look as deeply into this as I see here. So it's not just about sharing wealth to business owners and in the community. It's about spreading this throughout the community, and actually helping everyone move up on their own and accepting and not saying that we have to only buy from our own culture, but we want to get the help that we need to make sure that we take those who are less fortunate and bring them up to our level and share that wealth that we accumulate to everyone. And I would be open to, because I've had a lot of more deeper thoughts about all these things. So I'd be open to any questions that anybody would have about this principle. Okay, so I'm done. I'm looking at you, Jimmy. You look like you're about to say something.
No, I was wondering if anyone had any comments.
Yeah.
The whole thing about shared wealth and generosity. I don't know about that.
Well, yeah, I actually thought about that. Sharing the wealth doesn't mean that people think when you say share the wealth, they tend to think of things like socialism, communism, whatever. You can only have so much. The thing is, we said what we want to do is we don't want to hoard what we have and ignore everyone else. Actually, in my opinion, a lot of what we do in this country is to share wealth. We're a wealthy country. That's why we have Social Security. That's why we have health care. That's part of our wealth. But we don't want to keep it for ourselves and see our other people not have good health care and not be able to live out their old age with a decent income. That's the kind of wealth. It doesn't necessarily mean that an individual can't accumulate things for themselves. But as you do this, you need to probably look at where you came from, how you got this, and not think solely of yourself, but look at your whole community. Say, I need to bring my community up also, at least so that they can. And it says, and like you said, what you want to do is have everyone be able to and have a meaningful life without feeling deprived of the wealth of the community. And that doesn't necessarily mean everyone has to have a Mercedes, but they should be able to have transportation to the hospital.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Sure.
Does anyone else comment on anything? No. Then we'll move on to the fifth principle, purpose, NIA by Miss Olivia Christian.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be with you all tonight. So I am going to share with you a little bit about purpose or NIA. So in Maulana Karenga, the creator of Kwanzaa, described purpose as a commitment to the collective vocation of building, developing, and defending our community, its culture, and history in order to regain our historical initiative and greatness as a people. And add to the good and beauty of the world. And so on this day, we pledge to make our collective vocation the building development of our community in order to restore our people, Black and Brown people, to their traditional greatness. Since March 2020, life as we know it came to a halt, and many people have felt lost or without a purpose in life. So I'm going to share a couple ways maybe you can practice NIA as we move forward and as we enter the new year. So some ways to practice NIA include reflecting how you find purpose in life, maybe outside your career and in other ways that you define yourselves. You can begin by reading books and watching movies that educate you about you, your ancestry, your history, and help you set long or short-term goals that will set you and your community on a path towards a more intentional and purpose-driven life. I think we should all take time to reflect on our expectations for life. We should take time to discuss these desires and our hopes, our dreams, and where we wish to see our community go with our friends, our families, and our larger community. I also think on this day, you should try to determine if your purpose that you are currently working towards will eventually result in positive achievements for your community and family. I think we should examine our service to our community as it defines who we are. NIA asks that each member of our community examines our skills, our talents, where we are going in life, and how we will put forth those skills or talents in the service of our community, and how it will affect our descendants for generations to come. So as a former teacher, I'm going to make you all do a little bit of a homework assignment. Maybe you can complete it now. So if you have access to a chat function, I was wondering if we could all share how we will add purpose to our lives in 2022. So you don't have to unmute and say anything if you don't want to, but you can type it in the chat. Let us know how you're going to add purpose in 2022.
Okay, you've heard the challenge. Anyone have any comments or questions for Olivia? I think they're all busy trying to write down something. Okay. Thank you, Olivia. So we'll move on to the sixth principle, creativity, Mrs. Michelle Boers.
Thank you, Jimmy. I was trying to type in my answer, but I'll have to wait. We're on the 6th day now of Kwanzaa, and this day focuses on kuumba, or creativity in Swahili. The sixth principle is a vow to being creative in the name of restoring Black people to their traditional greatness by leaving our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it. We use creativity every day, yet creativity doesn't have to be just art. You don't need to produce a hit song or write a best-selling novel to be creative. Creativity is also problem solving, like choosing the safest route to get home, or juggling responsibilities like balancing your finances, marriage, health, and work. It can even be simply sharing a photo on Facebook and coming up with something clever to say about it. Having creativity requires one thing, though: inspiration. And think of something, just a way to be creative, use your gifts and talents. On this 6th day of the feast, before the 6th candle is blown out, this statement is read to the feast and to the year. Strive for discipline, dedication, and achievement in all you do. Dare struggle and sacrifice and gain the strength that comes from this. Build where you are and dare leave a legacy that will last as long as the sun shines and the water flows. Practice daily the principles, and may the wisdom of the ancestors always walk with us. May the year's end meet us laughing and stronger. May our children honor us by following our example in love and struggle. And at the end of next year, may we sit together again in larger numbers with greater achievement and closer to liberation and a higher level of life.
Any comments for Michelle? No, we talk about creativity. One of the things that we always get as a scientist, how do you come up with creative ideas? It's always like you're sitting while you're driving in your car, you're sitting at home and say, gee, I got these ideas. No, they don't come that way. They come when you least expect it, when you're doing things. You can be in the shower, you could be driving, or you can be just taking a long walk. So there's no set way to come up with creativity. And you say creativity is in everything, not just in the arts. That's what some people think, but it's in everything. A lot of decisions that you make every day. You made a good point there. Thank you. Okay. So now we have one more principle. We say the best for last. Imani, faith. Mrs. Susan Ellison, you have the floor. Susa, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The final, good evening, and I'm very glad to participate in this session, especially on this principle. The final principle of Kwanzaa translates to faith and community, and to believe with all our hearts and in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. This principle helps us to continue building and maintaining a unified and empowered community. It can focus on religious faith, faith in the future of a larger community, or faith in oneself as a valuable participant in the world. For in all African spiritual traditions from Egypt on, it is taught that we are in the image of our Creator and capable of ultimate righteousness and creativity and development. This we get from God, our Creator. Therefore, faith in ourselves is key. Faith in our capacity as human to live righteously, support, and care for each other. This creates a just and good society. Imani of faith is the profound belief in and commitment to all that is of value to us in our family, community, and our people and culture. Now, as we read in the Gospels and study the Gospels, we have to move into living out the Gospels. God calls us to be one people. How do we create this unity? We do it through humbleness, preferring others, submitting to others, gentleness, be refined in our conduct and character, patient with others. Many times we struggle between humility and pride. Sometimes we think we can do all these things by ourselves, but there's nothing wrong in humbling ourselves and asking for help. Unity creates strength. I'm going to give you since we're talking on faith, well, I'm going to give you a biblical example. When Moses was winning all those battles for the Israelites, he was holding up his hand, but Moses' hands got weary. So Aaron and Hur held up his hand, one on one side, one on the other side. And when Moses' hands became steady. We need help, and we need it together with each other. Let us talk to God, and who is our Creator, and ask Him to show us the areas in our lives where we need to let go of our pride and humbly depend on Him and others. We need to come together. We need each other. As faith people bringing about unity, we are aware of our differences, but we respect and we tolerate our differences. We must value our diversities. Just as we are blessed with all of these beautiful gifts, we use these gifts to build our churches, our communities, and society. This principle inspires and sustains our togetherness. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Susan? Okay. All right, since there are no comments or questions, but thank you. That's an excellent presentation. That ends all of the 7 principles. We've heard that throughout all the principles, there's always that common denominator, unity in the community, self-reliance, sharing, a safe space together so people can do things to help maintain their community. Build your community, determine a purpose or a reason for coming together for a common cause for the betterment of your community. Being creative, coming up with inspiration and ideas to bring unity to your community. And it's what many of you spoke on, and a lot of organizations looking at creative ways of trying to bring the community together with all the chaos that's going on and stuff. So I want to thank all of the panelists for participating. We'll give them a big round of applause, a big hand. So now, in closing, we'll have some remarks by our president, Georgia Verdier, and followed by a closing prayer by Reverend Strickland.
Thank you, Jimmy. Just before our closing prayer, I just wondered if any other panel members want to weigh in on what's been said by others. I know when I'm listening to people talk, sometimes a thought comes to my mind about something that somebody else has said, like unity, faith, self-determination, and somebody might have a creative thought that they can share with all of us. We're all learning and growing on a daily basis, so we still have a little bit of time. If somebody wants to weigh in on something that has been said, or somebody wants to add something to what has been said, now is their time.
I did want to, oh, Dwayne, do you want to speak? You're muted. Okay. I forgot to mention in my remarks, what I found a quote, or came across a quote by Paul Robeson, that I think just really beautifully sums up our unity, our collective responsibility, our bond. And so he said, we are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond. And I just think that that encompasses all of our responsibility, all of our joy that we can take in each other, and the seriousness with which we take each other. So I just wanted to share that.
Dwayne has to unmute himself. He's talking, but we can't hear him.
Oh, I didn't know I was muted. Okay. Yeah, I just unmuted. Yeah. I just wanted to maybe explain a little bit more, at least from my perspective, what because Jimmy asked a question about the sharing the wealth. And I think that one of the problems with being in the US is that we only think of wealth in terms of money. And when when this kind of wealth that you need to bring a community up is, it could be a wealth of ideas. It could be a wealth of your abilities. I mean, if you have the ability to do something, share that with someone else. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go in your pocket and give them money, although that is part of it. That can be part of it, I should say. But if you're a teacher, if you know a lot about a subject, spread that to the community to help build them up. And I think and so that they, and because Dr. Karinga talks about looking at people who are poor or vulnerable and helping them become part of the community. I'm just thinking about the cooperative economics. So we cooperate with them, and economically they can be part of the next generation that's able to spread with what they have learned, and so that the whole community rises up. And so it fits in with the other principles in that way.
Okay. I guess I'm still on, Jimmy. And thank you, Dwayne. Anybody else have a comment on anything? I know that some suggestions came into you, Olivia, regarding your challenge. I don't know if you want to touch base with anything that came in on the chat or not before we move on.
Yeah, I absolutely loved seeing everybody's chosen purposes and things that they were setting, some goals they were setting for the new year, moving out of fear and embracing courage, donating more time to those in need. I love Reverend Holly's looking for more intentional ways to celebrate and honor our elders. I thought that were some really great ways that we can all take small moments or steps in the right direction in the new year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, I want to say on behalf of the branch, I would like to thank all program participants and for those all who are zooming in for your continued support, because as all of us are needed to maintain unity in the community. And I just want to, I didn't chat in to you, Olivia, but for 2022, I'm challenging us all to get in the game. Many times we sit in the house looking out the window, determining what other people should be doing. We don't look in house and say, what can I do to make this world a better place? As we are running this PSA now, a lot of people are weighing in saying, you are weighing in on healthcare. What about crime in the streets and all? We're concerned about all of that, but you should be too. All of us are in this thing together. And if we're talking about unity in the community, stop looking out the window and come into your house and say, I'm getting in the game because I want to help make a difference, because I believe together we can move some mountains. But if we're going to only look for somebody else to do it, then we don't take any ownership for it because we're depending on somebody else to move the mountain. It's going to take all of us to do this. And let us challenge ourselves in 2022 to be a better people, to have a healthier community, and to have all of us come out and take part in resolving the issues in the community, because they impact all of us directly or indirectly. So if we want to help the community, we need to all get out there and make it happen. If you want change, you need to be a change agent. And so I'm challenging us in 2022. Let's get busy, let's get in the game, and let's resolve some of these issues together. So stay tuned for us, because we'll be coming back with you with some more things and some more challenges. But when we're coming after you, we're willing to work too. So anybody out there trying to make a difference, we're willing to join up with them and help them resolve issues if they invite us to be a part of it. We invite everybody who honor our challenge and our way of moving things to come aboard and help us do that. So anyway, Olivia, for me, as the pastor has put a call to action, because that's her message for 2022. And I'm right on board with that message, a call to action, because it will require all of us to do this. We can't look to a city hall. We can't look to faith-based community. We can't look to the NAACP or the peace group or any of those to do it alone. When we're talking about unity, let us all get aboard this train and take it to the station, get out of the station, take it to the community and make a difference. So thank you so much. As I said, stay tuned. We're planning a Martin Luther King program, so you'll be hearing from us real soon about that. That too will be different because it would be virtual. Normally we have a breakfast, but this time it will be different. But we're still trying to make a difference. And just because of COVID, the world didn't stop. The world is still turning, and change like air is all around us. So we still have to be busy in spite of different circumstances. So thank you again so much for all that you do and all that you're doing. And together we can make a difference. So thank you again and be well. And Jimmy, it's back to you.
Okay, we'll have a closing prayer by Reverend Strickland.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if someone else still wanted to make a comment. It looked like Brother Sean was trying to get in on making a comment.
Okay.
I would just wanted to say, one of the things that I've been talking about all year and I'm going to work real hard on is, while the word racism is a very, very important social construct, it's when people start talking about races that I think there's more division than help. There's one race, it's the human race. And that's why we can have children with anybody of any ethnicity, because we belong to one species. There's one race, it's the human race. What we need to appreciate are all the different ethnicities and ethnic cultures. If we can get people to see the humanity in every person, in every language that they may speak, in every art form that they may bring to the table, even every religion. And of course, with that goes sexual orientations and gender expressions. But still, it's a human being. And from that point of view, we are all absolutely equal. So for me, I'm working real hard on celebrating the one and only human race that we know of so far anyway, and learning to appreciate the spectrum of ethnicities. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you for those wonderful comments.
Thank you.
I also thank everyone who helped to make this evening possible and come together in celebration of Kwanzaa. And now let us share the benediction. Brothers and sisters, we have gathered, we have listened, we have shared. We have learned more about Kwanzaa and the celebration of family and friends, about living together, working together, and having purpose. Let us leave this gathering committed to bringing unity to our community, one person, one deed, one act of kindness at a time. So as we leave this space, go in peace and unity. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And Happy New Year to everybody.
Same
Happy
to
New
you.
Year.
Happy
Thank
New Year,
you.
everyone.
Everyone.
Nice seeing
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, be well, and thanks you again for everything that you do.
Thanks all.
Yeah.